All right. What's up, Blueprint family? Thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you. On this Wednesday night is hump day,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, that's an interesting name. Over the week, though, almost over the
Yeah, middle of the week.
middle of the week.
Hope you
Yeah,
all have had a wonderful Wednesday. Thank you all for joining us tonight, Wednesday
yeah.
night. And as our topic goes, will things just get better with time?
Mm.
What are we talking about tonight?
We shall find out.
Yeah. As always, Instagram viewers, thank you all for joining us. We would like to um, encourage you all to join our YouTube page as well. So if you all can join in on the YouTube side, we promise you there is HD video and sound. And also you can read along with the letter or the graphics that we currently have up that you can follow along as well. This is a live call-in show, so you can also call in
Request to
and
join the
request
live.
to
Yeah.
join the live or request to video or voice call us on
Yes.
the link provided or on Instagram. And you can also comment in the comment box. Please leave comments, and then also if you have any questions, we'll be able to answer those as well. And we encourage
Yeah.
topics as well. If you want us to cover a topic, please do so. So let's start the show.
Yeah, let's dig on in. It was a great question that came in, and I thought it was worthy of us exploring it. See valuable feedback on what we could do, or at least our opinion for the
Okay,
most part.
what is
But
it?
overall, this will also be good for anybody in a relationship and wondering, or not in a relationship, just wondering, will things get better with time, and what that concept, what we're talking about, what that means. So we'll explore that all throughout. But for now, the subject was, will this get better with time or what? 3 months ago, my boyfriend and I decided to take a break after our relationship of 2 years. It was mostly due to not understanding each other and frequent fights. We never actually had a specific big, horrible problem, mostly just petty fights transforming into something serious because we didn't know how to agree with each other. We couldn't solve conflicts, and I was an anxious type, and he was the avoidant type. I like that. That means I've been watching. I was hoping the time apart would help us to get together if we decided to get back together. So now, 3 months later, I finally decided to give him a chance because I felt his sincerity that he really wants to be with me. All of his friends and family also tell me that I'm the only girl he's been this way with, that he's putting effort in, and they can tell he's in love with me. We've been together again for almost 2 weeks, and our old habits are resurfacing. We've talked about our plans of solving our issues one by one, and he says he will communicate more with me. Most of the time, I can feel he really loves me, and he is very reassuring with me and protective. Never fails to update me because he knows I overthink. But when I open up to him about how I feel, he gets defensive. And when I tell him he's being defensive, he gets more defensive. We start mentioning gaslighting, manipulative, controlling, dismissive, and all these harsh or triggering words. Any other time we aren't fighting, everything is amazing, and we have heart to heart talks. That's when I can really feel our love. Do you guys think this will get better as we grow up? We are both 25. Thanks.
The answer is yes, of course. The more that you practice and doing something, you will get better with it. And that's what we preach here as well. And our path to conflict resolution is reconciling what the issue is, not talking about each other. So they get wrapped up into um, talking about each other, and then also too,
Yeah, unhealthy forms of communication,
right,
the blaming
the
and
blame
yeah,
game. They like to play they do the
criticizing.
blame game as opposed to talking about what the issue is. So they have yet um, to I guess develop their communication skills to just focusing on what the issue is and not the frustrations on each other. And
Yeah.
then also too, they haven't learned to negotiate If there is an issue, they have to learn to negotiate on what to do next time. And then what was it? Reconcile, negotiate, and then resolve. Put that plan into action so that next time, if there is a next time, the argument will be shorter and it will just be shorter, and they will get better at communicating,
Yeah.
avoiding arguments. It can be done. It can be done, but we just naturally don't know how to conflict resolve.
Well, yeah, and to the concept of things getting better with time is actually rooted in the idea that with experience, effort, and patience, then things will improve. You can't just expect because you had this break for
Mhm.
however 3 months or whatever that all
They're
your
still
issues
together.
are gonna right,
I
but
mean,
you
y'all are
just
still
can't even
together. What is a
expect
break?
after a break for just issues to resolve themselves. It's not
No,
how that
no,
works.
no. You have to
And
resolve all of
yeah,
the issues.
yeah, and time, well, it takes that effort, that
Right. The effort
actual practice of
of what I
implementing what's going on. You can't run away at it. All it seems like the break was like a way of, maybe cooling off, maybe even running away, depending on how you kind of want to look at it. But that in itself is not going to allow time to make things get better. Time doesn't do that. It's the effort, the actual experience in gaining and learning from that experience, the patience, especially because they're younger, the patience, the grace, the forgiveness, that is what paves the way for, things to get better with time. It's not so much just, especially like you said, because communication has to be learned and practiced. It's not something that's just going to occur.
right,
Like,
right,
out of nowhere.
right, exactly, and especially they're young, but
youngish. I don't think 25 is that young, but youngish.
well, I mean, for the man and the woman, yeah,
Waiting for the man.
I think 25 is young, as far as trying to
maybe figure it
marry
out.
somebody.
Yeah, figure
But I mean, I
out,
think they're taking the right steps. There's some things in there that as far as the letter, there's some things that they can work on. Of course, they get into frequent small fights, and so that they may be doing the avoidance thing is what's building them up with the frustration, and also to her speaking out of her anxiety. That also is a way to miscommunicate and then also spark a argument. And the break, I don't know, like you said, what are they breaking for? I guess to cool heads. It takes you 3 months to cool heads. You are still going to come back into your relationship, and they're just having to learn to communicate better with each other.
Yeah.
I wonder if they were single siblings, because often at times single siblings,
You mean single only child?
only child, yeah. I made up a new family member.
A
The single sibling.
That's a nice time.
Yeah, it's been a long week. But I wonder if they were only children, because they often at times don't know how to conflict resolve with other people. But
Yeah.
especially if they don't have a good parenting base that they come from. So that
Yeah.
could be issues too as well, where they may need to find help or mentors to help them understand what it looks like and how healthy communication takes place in a healthy relationship.
Yeah, it makes me think because they said they decided to take a break after their 2-year relationship, and I think that is so ironic because we always talk about how the honeymoon phase of a relationship can last up to 2 years, and during this time we always say it's a lot of excitement, it's a lot of passion. You are easily going to overlook any type of annoyances or pet peeves or things that you usually would get on your nerves. You're going to overlook those during that time. And that might have been what was going on here, because usually as a relationship progresses, that excitement's going to wear off. And when it wears off, then you're going to see those traits that get on your nerves.
That's when the work starts.
Yeah. And that's where you actually have to start implementing those things that you said, you were going to do to help the relationship, progress. You may start having maybe even your first arguments during that time. Just makes me wonder, like, because they said, they never actually had a big specific horrible problem. Okay, so that means y'all had a lot of little petty things that y'all probably weren't taking the time to actually resolve, more so just like,
Just let it go.
yeah, letting it go, thinking that it's going to resolve
And it
itself.
recycles.
Yeah, I see where this idea of time, just time is going to heal it all. No, that is not how it works. It's not. And that's something that has to be thought about through all areas of life. Like, it's things that you have to do, that effort, that persistence, the actual application of the things, that's experience, that applying the wisdom to new situations. That is what makes things get better with time. And we'll, talk about specifically ways as we, go a little further. So certainly hang on for that. But as a couple just spends more and more time with each other, and the more you're exposed to each other, and the more you learn about each other, sure, that is going to provide you with some type of experience to draw upon, to help, with your strengths and your weaknesses, help you guys work together, learn what you like, learn what you dislike. Certainly that is how time will, help. But it takes that actual effort of wanting to develop that deeper understanding for each other that's really gonna, put in that work. So it makes me wonder, what is that? She says he says he put in that effort. I wonder what that, that effort was. Was he just telling you, yeah, that the family, that he's put the effort in, and they can tell he's in love with, and she meant to put me there, but where's that,
What is that means that he has some sort of intention of being with her, as opposed to playing the field and trying to manipulate her, or cheat on her, or whatever the case may be.
Maybe even win her over, in the sense of maybe he was going back telling her, oh, I love you, I'm so sorry we broke up, and stuff like that. But that to me doesn't show the effort.
I think it's more than that. I mean, he's like, they said that's the only girl that he's seeing. That's what the family and friends are saying. So that's what they mean by the effort.
Yeah, that's not effort into your relationship, though. That is where that effort has to be applied. Because then when you hit into, again, you said y'all were together for 2 weeks now, and old habits are starting to resurface. Well, that is where that effort of, all that talk, whatever talk y'all were saying to get y'all back together, this is the time where it's got to, put that work in.
You have to practice, have to practice the reconciliation of the issue, negotiating, and then resolving.
Yeah,
that's what they're not doing. They're just fussing and cussing each other out, and then letting it be. And that is a way that you can invite competition into your relationship. We talked about competition.
Yeah, a couple times. Yeah.
No, it wasn't yesterday.
Yeah, not yesterday. Okay. But a few times we've gone over that.
It was recent, though.
Yeah. But in general, just overlooking any type of communication problems within your relationship will certainly lead to more problems down the road. I mean, these problems will become more pronounced. There's no way that you're just going to sleep on it and think that, it'll be better in the morning. That's not how things work. Like, you really have to get to know each other and actually start to apply those effective communication styles that will help you get over this whole anxious attachment or avoidant, anxious avoidant communication styles that you all have. And it's great, that you guys recognize these things, because that is, of course, the first step into knowing what your problem is.
Well, she recognizes this, but does he, though?
Right. Yeah. And that's where that communication will have to come in.
Because he's the avoider. So he could easily be harboring bad feelings and bad emotions and then just blowing up.
Yes, that is the negative impact, that resentfulness. And it's all because maybe even, some passive aggressive communication is going on here. You mentioned that, you guys will get kind of critical with each other. I can't recall exactly what she said, but I do like to not just put words in your mouth, but said something about, I tell him. And so I open up to him about how I feel. He gets defensive. And when I tell him, he's being defensive. It
sounds like as if she's pointing blame to him.
Yeah, that's where
I feel like that you. Or instead of saying that you feel like you need to talk about it, the issue.
Yeah, your feelings and how it's impacting you.
Right. And how
Your
the
impact,
issue is
yeah.
impacting you.
Yeah, not
The person.
yeah, because it will cause defensiveness, and
Right.
that's what it's doing directly, because you're going into attack mode. We always talk about this. If you're wanting to express it, don't go attacking.
And generalizing. Stop
Mhm.
generalizing in your relationship, saying that you always do this. You don't never listen. Don't never listen. That ain't true.
Yeah.
That ain't true.
I've learned it's so funny. Our son, he recently, when was it, like last week, I think I had to tell him, like, stop saying always. And with him being young, that's what I realized is maybe even like a lack of vocabulary of being able to express how you're feeling, because you don't have the words. So maybe somewhere, if you do find yourself generalizing, kind of like I told him, like, you gotta find better words to articulate what you're going through without you having to just be, attack the other person for doing that or generalizing them or in that nature. You really have to come to an understanding of, what am I really feeling? What's going on? Why am I feeling this way? That's why it's important to take that time out before you even bring your issue to your spouse and actually figure out, what's your intentions, what's really going on, and what do you want to get accomplished from bringing this problem to your spouse. If you're just bringing it to them just to bring it to them, I mean, what's it going to lead to, know?
You're choosing violence at that moment in time.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, you don't.
Figuratively speaking, not actually.
It's not constructive. Yeah. Right. It's not going to lead to anything that's going to help you grow and build upon it.
You got time today.
Yeah, it's just gonna, lead to that. It's certainly gonna make it more difficult to actually resolve those conflicts and make decisions together. And that's what is that's the true issue of why time isn't able to heal this, because communication issues is certainly one of those things that time just won't heal naturally by itself. It's going to take that work and that effort and that, persistence. And we'll talk more about that later. But there are actually other issues too that I thought about that, certainly time will not make them better. And it just, when it comes to a romantic relationship, you have to be able to be discerning and recognize that whether or not, if this is something that, sure, you guys can grow and get better with, or is this something that, you got to be honest with yourself and see, is this really going to get better over time? So one in particular would be like fundamental incompatibilities. And that's like things to one extreme of even just one spouse wanting to have kids and the other one not wanting to have kids. No amount of time is going to make that better. And believe it or not, a lot of women could think in their mind, oh, I'll give him some time, he'll want kids later. Or the same thing the guy would do, oh, I'll give her some time, she'll want kids later. No, that's not how that works. That is a fundamental incompatibility that you have to be mindful of and know that that is unlikely to change, and certainly not a direction you want to go in if you're trying to, have a relationship and build on that relationship with core, values and principles and shared goals that you want for each other.
Yeah, and also there is a history of if there isn't a history of abuse or infidelity in the relationship, this type of behavior is often a sign of deeper problems that are unlikely to be resolved with time.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep. So you need to communicate that a lot. What that your history of abuse and infidelity.
Yeah, that's when you work.
Right.
Yeah,
that needs a lot of work. Yeah. A lot of self-reflection, discipline, anger management, all of it, especially with abuse.
Third party help, like
and God forbid it's both of them.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot more than time that's going to be needed to save that relationship, and that's the reality that you got to think about for real.
Or if one partner is not willing to put in the effort to make the relationship work. So if one partner is not willing to communicate, compromise, or make sacrifices, the relationship is unlikely to succeed. So if the partner is unwilling to reconcile the issue, negotiate, and resolve conflict, the relationship more than likely is not going to work peacefully.
Yeah.
You can ignore all that stuff if you want, but you're going to keep still having conflicts just like this couple.
Yeah.
And that's what the problem is. That's what the issue is. First.
Yeah.
They need to figure out how to negotiate and compromise. They need to figure out how to lose in that relationship to a win-win. That's what they need to figure out to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Certainly, too, if your relationship is based on like an unhealthy codependency or some type of control issue, or anything like that, those toxic traits that can appear
Like
in some relationships.
that alpha male and female
Ah,
personality types,
yeah,
controlling.
yeah, certainly. If that is that's one way to put it for sure. But those things certainly will only get worse over time. That's not something that time will
Yeah, because the
make
other
better.
person is going to feel depressed and set and
Mhm.
disassociated, isolated, all of that. That's
Yeah,
what control makes the other person feel like
yeah.
less than.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's true. So, in all of these situations, we did want to run through some that so that you could be aware that, you got to be realistic about the chances of a relationship working out, and really if things will get better with time. What are, the things that y'all are actually putting into place to actually help this improve? Because if there is no sign of improvement, then, it may be time to end the relationship, because that effort's got to be there. Think time is just not going to do it. What is it? I ain't want to quote the Bible, but I like that saying, like, faith without works is dead.
Dead. Uh-huh.
Well, the same thing can be applied without a relationship. You can, within a relationship, you can hope and dream and wish and have faith that this relationship
It's
lasts
gonna
for the
work.
long term, but
Without the work,
yeah, it ain't.
it ain't gonna work.
It's not. It just and it has to be both spouses. Both of you all have to agree that this is something that you're going to work on and you're going to do. Now, in this case, for this young lady, I think it would be important for her to remember that not all relationships that you get in are meant to last forever. Certainly, you hope that. I'm sure she's probably like, Disney brain a bit here, depending on how long she's been with this guy. You're hoping that this is the one and this lasts forever, but sometimes if you keep trying in a relationship and things aren't improving, some relationships are maybe just meant to teach us something. Sometimes you're just meant to
Yeah,
grow within the
the
relationship.
hard way. But that's the
Yeah.
reason why you all come to us and you all watch this show, is because you take out that guessing of
Yeah.
about relationships, the guess on what to do next, or if I've never experienced this type
Mhm.
of situation. So that's the purpose of us laying these blueprints down, as far as these topics and these information, so that you don't have to. What was it? Wisdom. So the thing is that you teach your children the mistakes that you've made in life so that they don't. And so
Mhm.
what we're doing is showing people what mistakes look like in relationships so that they're aware of it and don't have to repeat these things or either go through it. So
Yeah.
there's a way that they can possibly minimize a lot of risks in their relationships by, of course, listening to our videos and seeing the examples that we put up here.
Yeah, it takes out that trial and error. That
Yes.
long trial and error, because
Yes.
it
They're
is
wasting
like that. Yeah.
time, the wasting money and pouring into the wrong type of people.
Yeah. And certainly if you're young, you don't want to waste too much time, and especially not if you're older, you don't want to waste time. So just knowing, like,
What to look out for, who to
yeah.
be with, who to
Mhm.
talk to,
Mhm.
what to do when you're faced with adversities and challenges in your
Yeah.
relationships. There's not enough people out here who's doing this, to be honest with you. But we provide it, but not to, saber rattle and chest beat and all that other stuff. But that's just, the fact of the matter.
Yeah. Because
that's what,
it's good to know.
right. Yeah. I wish,
Especially,
like I
yeah.
always say this, I wish I had this information growing up. I would have not made the mistakes that I did, wasting my time with the wrong people, and wasting my resources with the wrong people. And I would have moved better. This
Yeah.
this show is all about moving better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
especially if you all have young adult children or either young teenage children, I would encourage you to show these videos to them under your guidance, of course, because a lot of us were raised by single parents who could not offer this advice to us at all. So
Mhm.
just just
Or
that,
even parents that just didn't talk about stuff like that.
right,
Some
the
parents don't.
silent
Yeah.
generation, they say.
Mhm.
That was like our grandparents who could not put into words how they made it together. And this technology overlay is way different than what our grandparents grew up in.
Mhm.
It's a little bit different than what our parents grew up in.
Yeah.
A lot bit different, actually. And then also too, that our children are currently growing up in this new technology overlay that we have yet to see yet, that
Yeah.
they're actually being born into. So There's a lot of challenges out here, and we're just trying to help you move better
Yeah.
through these challenges.
And because even if a relationship doesn't work out in the long term, it can still be a valuable experience if
Mhm.
you're able to draw from it what you need to. And that's really one thing I love to highlight in particular, how you can take a situation that maybe, you may really, really want it, but it's important to kind of shift your mind and figure out, is this really worth it for you? Would it really be worth it? And is it really offering you what you need? And then if not, how can you learn from it? How can you grow from it? How can you apply the wisdom that other people have gone through so that you then, like you said, don't make the same mistakes and stuff? So,
Right. You're right.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, however, if couples are willing to work together through their problems and communicate openly, I do believe that they can overcome anything that they can, uh, anything, and get better with time and effort.
Yeah.
That's the key to the concept of things getting better with time.
Yeah.
There must be effort, patience, and experience to draw from for things to improve over time.
Yeah. Yep. So let's kind of head into some ways that this would actually look where you would know that, hey, time is on your side and it really is helping your relationship to grow and flourish. And one way in particular is with communication. So if we kind of go back to this couple, because I do want to be sure to offer y'all that opportunity of recognizing even more how you can communicate a little better. But in particular, if you are in a relationship, time should help your communication get better as you learn to get to know each other. We kind of said that a little bit before, but your likes and your dislikes, but you have to also look to be better in communicating with each other, look to be more effective, I should say, in communicating with each other, and learning to listen without that judgment, learning to communicate in a way that's healthy, that doesn't, do those unhealthy patterns, those judgments, those criticizing, all that other
Generalizations.
stuff. Yeah. Because once you do express yourself in a healthy way, you're certainly going to have a more satisfying and fulfilling relationship. But for this couple, like most couples, the first step to fixing communication problems is to talk about them. And that's I guess, the irony, the hard thing about it. I don't know, because if you're already having communication problems, to just talk about it is, can be difficult. And that's realistic. I get that. But, you got to be open and honest.
Well, right. And talk about the issue, not the person.
Yeah.
It's easy to get drawn into that.
Yeah.
That contest of, let me see if I can bash you down worse than you bashing me down.
Yeah, or just blame you, put all the blame on you because I don't want to be the one that's looking bad.
Right.
The relationship, you really got to put that ego aside, because at the end of the day, it's kind of like a mirror. You're going to bounce off of each other, and that person is going to reflect to you what you need to work on, and you're going to reflect to them what they need to work on. So that whole idea of just, trying to put each other down about it is not going to be helpful. Instead, really look to listen to each other without that judgment, to actually be open to communicating and talking in a way that's going to create a safe space for you all to express yourself and, understand each other on a deeper level, so that then you're actually working towards problems. So that means, in particular, learning to talk and communicate without so much trying to respond in the defensive, or respond just to, say something back, to have a rebuttal, to come up with an excuse. More so just take in what your spouse is saying and, hear what they're saying, and be willing to compromise,
Right.
like you were saying.
And also, to be, like you said, it's important to listen, be an active listener, be clear and present, eye contact, all of that.
Yep. And meeting your spouse halfway. I think, that whole compromise aspect that you were saying is key. And, a lot of people don't like to compromise.
No, because you have to lose.
Yeah, but you
have the feeling of losing when you compromise, but in the relationship, that's okay. And then, like I said,
it's
that
not really losing, because you win.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, the lose feeling. If you both are going in any compromising situation, you both are not going to get what you want through a negotiation. But sometimes you may negotiate a win for everybody.
Yeah.
But the more and more that you compromise or negotiate with your spouse, the more you'll see that you both win in the end. Less arguing, less time, is more efficient communication, less time that you all spend, not liking each other, or or less time, especially if you all have spontaneous arguments out in public,
Oh
you know,
gosh,
less
yeah.
time, you know, be embarrassing each other in public or embarrassing each other in front of friends and family,
Mm,
you know, less time doing all of that crazy stuff. So
yeah.
that's what I mean, that, you know, you compromise at first, it feels like a lose-lose, but ultimately if it's going to be a win-win when you all are able to master these communication skills.
Yeah. Yep. And if you are still struggling, I certainly recommend, whether that's reaching out to a therapist,
Another
vet your
married couple,
therapist, yeah, another married couple,
I got a comment.
us, you can schedule consultation with us. Somebody requested your live. Okay, we'll get right to that soon. But yeah, if you just need that help, that added assistance in coming up with ways that you can resolve your conflicts in healthier way, just actually being able to communicate more effectively, actually putting in tried and true methods that I believe all married couples have, like this. It's like this natural book of resolutions that all married couples draw from without even knowing, just
Mhm.
because you're naturally working with the spouse. Like, we all do the same things. Like, these are things that are common in all successful marriages. So you just have to be willing to take on this advice and then implement the things that you learn so that you can move forward, because that's big. Yep. Also, do you want to just run through these real quick?
Yep. Also, too, trust is essential for any healthy relationship, and over time, couples build trust by being honest with each other, keeping their promises, and respecting each other's boundaries.
Yeah.
So this can lead to a feeling of security and safety in the relationship.
Yep.
And then also too, acceptance can also grow more in time. As couples spend more time together, they can learn to accept each other for who they are.
Mm-hmm.
They learn to appreciate each other's flaws and quirks. This can lead to more genuine and authentic relationships.
Yep. These are the things that will get better with time if you
Right.
do it right. You actively have to, accept your spouse, and that actually leads us to the next one: appreciation. That is one that should definitely grow with time. I think as you spend more time with your spouse, and especially as you build a life with your spouse, you should come to appreciate them more. You should value them more. You should love them more. You should express your appreciation more and more to each other on a regular basis. This should lead to a more positive and loving relationship, but time will definitely be on your side if you are continuously spending that time doing that. That is how you grow and utilize time as a way to, create a more fulfilling relationship.
Yep. And then also to shared goals is also something that a couple should see progression in over time.
Mhm.
Couples who have shared goals are more likely to stay together over the long term because they're
Yeah.
working towards something. They
Mhm.
have something to work towards together, and they feel a sense of purpose as a team. This can lead to a more committed and passionate relationship.
Yep. Those shared goals, certainly should get better with time, especially if you're celebrating your wins. We always talk about that. Be sure to celebrate, those successes that you do together, those arguments that you got through much faster than you usually do, those big things and those small things. Take those
Right.
times to celebrate those, and that's going to lead to more commitment and more passion overall in your whole relationship. So
Yep.
yep, those are the things though that will get better in time if you allow it to, and you actually, put that effort, that patience, that communication, all of that. Then that is going to help you build a strong and lasting relationship. That will certainly bring you more joy, hopefully. So, yeah, I'm gonna close on out on this. We kind of finished this kind of early, but let me see. Head back to Instagram. Is that request still up? Did you still want to join? If you did, go ahead and send another request, and we'll be happy to take your request to join live. If not, anybody else, any questions? Anything else you think about this letter so far? Let me check the
We got to figure out a way to
Facebook.
um how to guide the people who want to be on stream live. Maybe we need to put at
Well,
a
it's
certain time
easier.
to do
That's the Oh, I get what you're saying. Like for
a
set
segment.
time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess we always do that at the end. This topic wasn't as long per se because it's kind of straightforward for the most part. So it
Because usually
offers a lot of
because
time.
last time the person had, I guess we answered their question or whatever the case may be, because they didn't. I guess it was still there, but they didn't chime in.
Yeah, I mean, that happens. But of course, we will always take it either way if you want to. Let me see. Okay, I see. Oh, somebody said yes. Okay.
All right, is it connecting?
Possibly.
Yep.
Hey, how are you guys?
All right, how are you?
Peace, peace.
But, I just want to thank you guys. I really appreciate what you guys.
Oh, thank you,
Aw,
we,
thank
we,
you.
we really appreciate you for joining our show and watching and being supportive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you guys what I got kind of going on. So it's kind of like difficult with me and my son's mom, and she kind of thinks that she can be a dad and a mom at the same time.
Uh-huh.
And like he needs his dad. Like he enjoys like the time. He's always picking up for me. And he's very close to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the people that have really that want to be good dads, they always have like uh, a tough baby mother. And then the people that don't want to be dads, they have like the best baby mothers. I don't understand that.
No, yeah, I
You know?
hear you. I hear you.
But what was like really like worrying me that like I have nothing against like people that are gay or anything like that. But I feel like because I'm not around and he's always around women and he's still like finding himself and because he's only 11
Okay.
and yeah, he's like real feminine. I've noticed that he's starting to like talk with his hands like a female. And I brought this to her attention and she flipped like, oh, you trying to see I'm a bad mom? Like, there's no like even talking to her. Like,
Right. Now, one thing that I've learned is that women naturally are nurturers. Now, here's the thing: a woman can teach a boy how to be a boy, but only a man can teach a boy how to be a man, and that is where you step in. Your son is 11, and that is one of the most pivotal ages. But I would say between the ages of 10 and 13, that those years where he's going through puberty and finding himself, like you said, like he's going through stages of wanting to find himself, the early stages of finding himself. You're the most, at this moment of time, you're going to be one of the most valuable role models or the most valuable people in his life. Now, I encourage you to spend as much time that you possibly can with your son.
Maybe even get custody.
Right. And if you have custody rights, do you have custody rights?
it's crazy because I don't even know my own son's like in like his social or anything like that.
Uh-huh.
And it's to the point like I'm probably gonna have most likely have to even get a lawyer
Right.
because I moved to Florida and I've been like trying to get him to come over or I could go and visit them and set up a date and it's like I was gonna like jump through hula hoops
Right.
for her. And then I told her I was like, why don't you put me on child support? That way, they could just set up like the days, but she'll like reschedule, like reschedule. I feel like she likes to be in control.
Of course.
So sometimes she'll like reschedule, or she won't show up, or she'll be like, you're on my time, I'm not on your time.
Wow.
I feel
Okay.
like she just kind of, because she was like my high school sweetheart, so I feel like she's just stuck on the past. And she a lot of times brings up things from the past, and well, you weren't doing this when we were together, and I'm like, that was a long time ago. Like I was a teenager now. I'm like,
Right.
And it's like you can't just be our anchor, holding me down, and always like bringing up stuff from my past. It's like,
Right.
uh,
Right. Until she get help, until she finds help with coping with the situation or the relationship you all used to have, she won't get any better about that, to be honest with you.
Have you
Um,
tried a mediator? Like a mediator versus putting yourself right on child support? Maybe like I hate having to get the courts involved so much, but when you're dealing with such a hard, position like that, like in a way, I would, yeah. Go ahead.
it's deep. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's actually deep because I've been reading books about like self love and manipulation, just learning about different things of the mind and why people do the things they do or act the way they act.
Yeah.
And before I used to be like, man, she can't just be evil or like what's wrong with her, you know?
right.
But now that I like learn to understand her and learn and like learned about a couple things, I learned that her father abandoned her.
Hmm.
So she has that like well yeah she always tells me well you're just like you just try I'm not gonna let that happen to our son like it happened to me with my dad.
Hmm.
And I'm like, but I'm not your dad. Like
Yeah.
I'm a whole different person.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. And those, like, that's what I was saying, that she's going to have to get some sort of help for those issues that she has.
Yeah.
But that's aside from you and your son.
Mhm.
Your focus really needs to be on your son.
Mhm.
Um, and trying to spend as much time. So, do you all live in different states? Do you live in a different state from your son?
Yeah, I moved to Florida. Like I've been here for like a year now.
Okay. And
How far is he like
He's
from
New
you?
Jersey.
New
Okay.
Jersey.
Okay.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Um, that's the hard
Yeah, I
part.
would, like you said, focus on the son as much as possible because you want him. Maybe even if you were to get to, because you've taken the route of trying to, be understanding on her part, maybe if you could approach it to her like, well, would you, if it's possible, if you're in the predicament to be able to take care of your son, maybe kind of kick it to her like, hey, I don't know if you're going through something or whatever the case may be, but I would love to take on my son for this time, maybe offer it as a way to relieve her, just it making things sound good to a person may sound like manipulative, but it's really not when you're trying. Your motive is your son,
Right.
and you're trying your best to work with the mother. So if you could try to phrase it in a light that she may receive it as being like, maybe he is trying to help me, maybe I should consider, maybe offering some like articles on like how important it is for the son to be with
The
him during
father.
this time,
Yeah.
especially if you're able to take him on. I would really try that.
Right. And then, and I hate to, it seems like you all have an open line of communication still, you and your ex,
Yeah.
which is great. But I'm trying to tell you that it's very important that you if you can get custody of your son.
Yeah.
If you are in that position, try to get custody of your son because he needs you
Mm-hmm.
at this age. The
Mhm.
preteen stage for boys is the most pivotal stage for their early manhood development
Mm-hmm.
moving forward so that they can be very productive men in society,
Mm-hmm.
because that's where we lose a lot of inspiration at, between that age and early adulthood, because we don't have our fathers, to be honest with you. So it is very important, if you have to seek getting a lawyer, get a
Mhm.
lawyer's advice and see what they say about it.
Yeah, add in a mediator because sometimes they'll bring in like a mediator so that way it doesn't have to go straight to getting the courts involved because that gets I hate that you wouldn't so much have control over much of anything then at
Right.
that point.
But the thing is that she's also controlling the time that you have with him as well.
Right.
And from what you're saying is that she's controlling and dictating a lot of that. So that may have to be their route. I would encourage you to talk to, a lawyer and see what your options are as far as custody.
Yeah.
Because I feel you. But your son really needs you as far as his role model
Yeah.
and being there with you. Mom has done her part.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but like I said, from that age of around 11 to through 13,
Like 10.
that is when the father steps in, especially, you know, all the way until he turns into a man from 11 to 18. That is where you instill discipline into him and show him the ways and things that you've learned growing up as far as being a man. You are his example. Mama can't do that for him. Mama can't do that.
Nope.
I don't know. I don't, you know, my mom raised me. My father left when I was around 8 years old. And I didn't develop a good, healthy relationship with him until I was 18. But my mom did right by me as the best she could, but mom couldn't raise me into being a man. I had to figure that out on my own. But luckily, I had the guidance of my father at the age of 18 to try to give me some wisdom. But like I said, between that age of 11 and 13, he needs you, especially as an example. At the least, you need to face call and talk to him every day
All day.
at the least, as much time as you possibly can. But I would encourage you to try to negotiate with your ex and see if you can get some custody rights in there somehow, and take
For her
over.
benefit,
Right.
try to make it like for it'll be a benefit to you as well. You know, come up with if you can write down a bunch of reasons. You
Right.
know.
Does she have any more other children?
No.
She don't. Okay. So okay.
Well, then yeah, it would free her up to do that self work.
One second, I'm gonna use the bathroom. 1 second. How do I pause it? Can I pause it?
I don't know.
I mean, well,
You can hang up and try back. Well,
yeah.
yeah, that'd be better.
Yeah. But thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that would be my advice to him. Is that he really needs to get his custody in order as far as his son goes. It seems
Yeah.
like they're still good as far as communicating, but he has to understand that she's going to really control that situation as much as she can. I don't know what their past relationship is.
Oh, someone else said, good luck. I understand what he's going through. Stay strong, stand up, show up for your kids. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Because they're the ones that really remember. Like they'll remember if you really fought to be in their lives or not. And that really makes a difference. If they always can say, well, my daddy called me all the time. I know he was really trying to be there. Like he really wanted me, you know, and maybe even that would help the son be like, hey, mom, I really want to go stay with my dad. Like, you know, and that continuous pushing, then if she really does genuinely, you know, is a good mother and loves her son, she should do that, you know.
Right. But like I said, he needs to negotiate custody with her. He still seems as if like they have a good open line of communication. And as far as, you know, co-parenting the young boy. But like I said, he needs to take the route of asking a lawyer and seeing what his options are.
Yeah.
And then proceeding that way. I think so. That's the best way, because
Still for men.
you know, a lot of times, you know, the mother is more than likely, she might not want him to have that custody, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, what I was saying, I kind of feel for the men in that point, because it's like you don't want to involve, you know, the courts, but he was like, you know, put me on child support because he wants that visitation. And unfortunately, you know, that's one good thing that, you know, that didn't happen, because I think that's not a good thing.
But the thing is, they can share visitation. I mean,
yeah,
you know, they can share visitation, but I think right now he really needs to own the visitation rights for his son, especially at that age, because it's very important for that young man to see how his father acts in certain situations, the mannerisms, the whole decision making of a man, in order for him to be a very productive man in the future. So I think it would be a good thing for both of them, and also too for the mom too as well. I mean, she's gone through some traumas and things. That'll be a great time for her to focus on herself and try to make herself whole again, especially after them having that breakup in that relationship and whatnot. So
yeah, that's so big.
Right.
And women should consider that, especially if they have boys. Like that is certainly something to consider.
Right.
Like
women need to do that. You know, when they become preteens, when your boys become preteens, send them off with their fathers. I'm serious. Send them off with their fathers, because they need to the fathers need to take over and show them the way.
Mm-hmm.
The mama can't do that. I don't care how good mama is, how nice she is.
Yeah.
I don't care how supportive mom is. You can't learn to be a man from mama. Mama can't teach you. My mama didn't teach me how to be a man.
You can't. Like, we're not men by
Right.
default. We're not.
And
Yeah.
my mom came, my mom was from a third world country, and she knew how to survive pretty much anywhere with anything.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I mean,
but that still
but
doesn't make you a
although
man.
right, but although that did not make me a man,
Mhm.
That gave me some good survival skills and whatnot, and taught me some things. But that was still, I was, that part was missing as far as manhood and decisions that men make.
Yeah, and then to the whole how he started with the whole thing of him talking with his hands and stuff like that. Like, just a boy seeing his mom naturally all the time,
Right.
and that's all you see. That's like, what he's gonna pick up on, that programming, and he's gonna start doing those things. And people gotta, you gotta be mindful of that. Like, that is
Right. That's
programming.
that's dad's responsibility too.
Yeah.
So if he wants to have any say so and how his son grows up, then now is the opportune time.
Yeah.
That man called at the right time to get this advice, to be honest with you. So
yeah, hopefully he hasn't been drinking too much, but either way, I understand to get over the jitters of actually doing this. But that's we're here for that, offering that advice, because I get that. Like, I really do. I even look at when I think about our boys, and like, they're with me a lot because I'm mama, but they pay daddy come home, it's daddy. Like,
right, yeah.
First thing waking
boys,
up in the morning, it's daddy. Like, and then even still when you're gone, they're acting like daddy, because it's just, they know, like, that's daddy and you mama, and that's just
right. I mean, even when I'm around fixing things like my lawnmower,
yeah, they're out there trying to do it too.
Yeah, they'll pick up all the tools and turn all the wrenches. They want to, what's that? Ask all the questions, and they want to see it. They all close to it.
And I think that's beautiful. And women really have to just understand the beauty in that of a boy seeing that example, and a man and wanting to follow behind that. That's why I honestly, truth be told, think there is a lot of women who don't like the men that are out here now. It's because they were raised by women. They weren't raised by men. They didn't see that example.
Well, and that hurt them.
Yeah.
Not being raised by daddy hurt them. But don't take that out on your children. Don't prevent your children from seeing dad or seeing your dad. And that was one thing my mom didn't do. She never prevented my father from seeing me.
Yeah.
It's just, at the time I didn't see enough of him, to be honest with you. But situations happen, things happen, and you pivot and you adjust and make the best of it. So that's what I had to do.
And I'm sure his son,
and then me,
all boys can, men can.
And me and my
that,
father, we have a great relationship now. So things can, those relationships can flourish and they can grow. But men need to be involved in their boys' lives. I mean, their daughters too. The daughters need their daddies too.
Yeah.
Especially,
it's a different dynamic though.
Right.
It's like a love type thing, like a first love type thing.
But also too, in those preteen years and those daughters, they need to have that open line of communication with dad too, especially if they need advice on things.
Yeah.
But
about boys,
right, about dating and all that stuff. They don't need to be dating at such a young age, or whatnot. But I mean, but mama can take care of the daughter, and the dad needs to step in and take care of his boys.
We gotta get okay with these gender roles and
then
normalizing
don't hold resentment against your exes. We've been talking about this, how to deal with your ex passes and all that stuff, but also too, after the breakup, when you have children, don't keep them away from their their fathers or their mothers.
Because you're hurting the kids. You're not hurting as much as women. You're not hurting the man, believe it or not. You are really, some men, don't get me wrong, I'm not discrediting the hurt and pain that a man feels when he's not able to see his child. Certainly you're hurting him, but you are hurting the kid 10 times more because of that connection. Their relationship with their father has nothing to do with you. And if you stop that, later on they could resent you for it and really not like you for it. The kids, in the sense, like they'd be like, why you keep my daddy from me? My daddy really tried to be with me all this time,
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that was all the advice that I could give to this man. And
Yeah,
if he's
same.
go back and watch this video, like I said, try to talk to your ex about getting custody, and if you can have custody of your son, own that. Try to figure out
Ooh,
ways that you can
excuse me.
bring your son down to Florida with you
Mhm.
and raise him up until he's an adult.
Yeah.
He's going to be well off than being with mama, assuming
Yeah.
that you are a good father and you do right by your son.
Yeah, and I even think if the intentions, he doesn't even have to have it like, you don't have to have no big house or nothing like that. But if you have like the intentions of raising your child right, and he gets to see you working hard to even get better things for him and, take care of him, and he will see that and want to be around that and be excited to even maybe one day even work with you, like, so I think that relationship is so important, even if you don't have anything, like, even if all you got is your time. I think children spell love with time, time, to be honest, more than anything
Spending
else.
time with them is
Yeah.
better than money and materialism and all video
Mhm.
games and all
Yeah.
of that stuff.
Yeah, because you can send child support money all you want, but that money is not going to replace you as the father and your impact that you're going to make in your children's life, for sure. So.
Right. But I think we'll go ahead and call it a night.
Okay.
Yep. So Blueprint family, thank you all for joining us.
Any other questions though? Did we do that? We asked that. Any other questions real quick? Anything good? Good.
Yeah, we're good. Anybody got any additional questions,
check.
comments?
Okay.
I think that's it. But to that man out there, if you want to reach out to us again, please do. If you may, maybe not.
Yeah.
But he just need to focus on, don't worry about that relationship that y'all had. Focus on your son and do right by him. Try to get custody of your son because he needs you now more than ever. So with that being said, Blueprint family, thank you all for joining us tonight. And you all have a wonderful night. Peace.